Hey everybody, this is Grace, and I'm going to be doing my videos for this story this way for a while. It's just better if I do it outside, sit in front of a shrub. So pardon the background, but it's been like this for a while during the pandemic. A lot of the times that was the best way. It's too noisy inside and everything. And this one, I want to talk about the videos I'm doing on this series. There's more than one series on more than one channel I have, and they're copyrighted to me. The way I'm doing right now are more like the highlights and a rough draft, and that's copyrighted, all of it. Yeah. I see, you have to say that. Read the disclaimer in the description box below this video on YouTube. And in this one, it's going to be about Lisa. Now, Lisa, sometimes as I'm writing this and I'm writing them on paper, I do change some of the things about them. And like, this is when Lisa, she's 32, meets Zoe, she's 28. Zoe's a twin, and I think I gave them a younger age, the twins, but anyway. And one of the details when I wrote part of it out on PowerPoint slides, I think I got it wrong. I think it was something about it had been 2 years or something after Lisa had broken up with Nick. Okay, so I'm going to read what I wrote. Like I said, these are like highlights, rough draft, and all that. And things change whenever. Okay, I wrote, let's see. After Lisa saw Nick's cell phone that he left after they had that fight, he left his cell phone at her house. And he stormed out. She decided that she would drive to his house for the first time ever. And I mentioned, I think in one of the videos, that she had never gone to his house because he lives in a town in the county. These are all a big county. And it's called the Outlaws. It got that name generations, many eons ago. Not eons, but long when they first started selling it, because that's where they put all the prisoners. So they were the Outlaws. And they named it the Outlaws, all the jails and stuff like that. The bad stuff. And the people never changed it. They didn't want to. And they're the rougher type. They're the ones who are not... some of them are actual descendants, but most of them have basically, I don't want to say shunned, because it's not, what usually you shun, but along that line, they're shunned. They were sent there for various reasons, and they don't own property in the rest of the county. Okay, and so they don't get their inheritance. And some of them were members of a group called the Original Members. They were a group of computer people from about 40 years ago, some of them 40 years ago, and they get money from it. And they did something wrong, so they were sent there. I mean, they were kicked out of the group, and many of them wound up there. So now Nick lives there in that bad area. And it's overall, I mean, not everybody, of course, is bad, but many of them are. They had like their whole separate set of rules and all that. And so he would tell her she couldn't go to his house because of that. And they'd been dating, I think it was 4 years or something like that. And they had a fight. I believe it was, I wrote it, and you would think I would remember, but I wrote it a while back, that she basically was wanting to get married and talk about kids, and he told her he couldn't have them or something. I need to go back and watch that one. Okay, I do have several stories going on. Anyway. So she thought she would leave early in the morning to go give him his cell phone back. There was no way for him to call her, without his cell phone, or he just didn't. And so she thought she'd leave real early in the morning to go give it to him at his house. She could find where his house was, And so it was very early. So she would, she would get there before he went to his job. Basically what she wanted to do. And so okay, I have on my notes, says add in one thing that Nick had told her, that he couldn't have kids. Okay, now so she goes to his house that really early and knocks on the door, and she met with one of his children and his wife. She had no idea that he was married. He had told her he couldn't have kids. All of it had been a lie. See, he was trying basically to have a second life, with her. and cheat on his wife and all that. So that was how she found out. Okay, now let's see. In the past, Nick would go to her house, like I said, telling that the Outlaws was a rough part of town for her to visit, and I'd also did on the video that they had met at a used car lot. Okay, when she went to get her van for her store. Her store is, I need to find a good name for it. It's a yarn, like yarn, and people go there to buy the supplies for knitting and crocheting, anything like that, embroidery, along this line. I want to come up with a good name for it, so I haven't done that yet. So she, after she left, and she found, there was his wife and kid she ran across, and so she left and went to, went and sat in her van, left, from the house, and went to a store and just sat there. It's like a warehouse store. And she just cried for a while, knowing that she would be too upset to drive home. Okay, I'm rusty. Every time I actually get a chance to talk about this, I'm rusty. But she sat at a store, not the warehouse store, but she sat at a store, cried out a little bit, and then she went and got her some breakfast, drive-through, and still upset and everything. And then she decided to go to this warehouse store. Now, it's on the outskirts of that town, and to buy supplies for her store, and and some of it's just crafts and stuff like this. And she had been there before with her parents, so she knew about it. So she didn't want to drive. Where she lives is way across on the other side of the county. So she didn't, think that it was good for her to actually be on the road. And so she went there and looked around, just very upset, walking around. And then she ran across Zoe. Now, like I said, Zoe is now, this time, 28 years old. But Zoe had been working there for years, since she was a child, and that's the section that she works in this big warehouse. Now, the Outlaws area, the whole town and, the outskirts of it, they do all the manufacturing and distribution for the county at this time. It might change. And so everything that comes in goes there, and then they distribute it. Or anybody who makes it and they want us to have it distributed, they can do that too. Variety. So Zoe worked there. Now the next time that Lisa went there, she told Zoe about, needing a business manager, somebody to manage the store when she needed to take off. So, then I have other parts about how she got it and all that, the store and everything. So I don't want to go through all those again. So you can go and watch those. I'll link them at the end of the video. Look like, it'll be a little thumbnail. So I'll link them there. Okay, so basically she had just bought the store from her parents. And her mother used to run it. And she had, she didn't have it open. She was trying to stock it, buy stuff from different places, find good places, different, but she wound up basically using the same as her mother. And but she needed somebody to manage that would do all these things, because she didn't want to keep going to that town, or going there to pick out new things. She needed somebody she could trust to do it. So she told Zoe about it, the job, asking her if she knew anybody who was looking for that job, that kind of a job, because that's what Zoe had been doing for years, working in that department, that section. And so she wanted to start up, but she needed a manager for when she, couldn't work herself, and then maybe an employee or two here and there. But because of, what was going on in 2020 and 2021, and it's not past 2021 yet, they were going to have a unique way of selling things. Basically, it would be window shopping, and then it would be delivered. Okay. Anyway, so she told Zoe, and she asked Zoe during that second visit, if she knew anybody, and she left her business card with her for, when Zoe said, give me your business card or whatever. So she left it. And well, after, a short while, day or two or so, Zoe called her and said that she would like to have the job, but she would love to have the job, but the long drive back and forth would be difficult. And well, the good thing about it was the shop itself has an apartment apartment upstairs. Have you seen some of those, like in old towns? I think maybe even some new ones, and they have an apartment which, somebody could stay in. So Lisa had her own house. She had a house. Well, she basically stayed with her she stayed at her parents' house, but they had moved. And they said that since she's going to be the one, she's going to inherit it because she's an only child, why should she move? Why should she move out? Because they live in the big city, okay? And they come home usually during winter sometime. And, but anyway, so Zoe, Lisa thought that was a great idea if Zoe wanted to move into it. And Zoe lived with her siblings in the house. Her family, her parents aren't there, but her siblings. And she thought it would be a great idea to finally get out. And so that's what she did. She decided that she would, move into there because that Zoe, where she was, she can't, in the Outlaws, she couldn't buy property inside the rest of the county. You had to be a descendant of the original settlers and their, the founders of the town, the original people. And she wasn't, so she thought she'd move there for a short while and see how it went. But that's how, that's what I wrote. I wrote that that's how she met Zoe. Now, there's more to these stories. I have written so many, and more than one story, but it all comes together as a big series, big story. And I have written so many, but just getting an opportunity to do them. See, I've written many of them, maybe most, on PowerPoint slides. Made a video from those, but yeah, right now, no. I think it's best if I come out and do videos like this. But like I said, this is not me really telling the story. It's more, because there are other parts to the story. It's more the highlights and everything. But many of them are about, things like relationships that gone bad. But it's really about good versus evil. And there are good people, which would be more altruistic. And then there are evil people who would be more narcissistic. But there are also other ways people can be abusive. We all know that, don't we? Anyway, I think that's enough for this one for now. If you want to subscribe to this channel, click that circle icon that pops up, and I'll talk to you on another video. Bye.